week. So Marlon, anything else you want to add?
No, nothing at this time. I've been a bit out of I feel a bit with the week distance between the sales and the finance. I feel like there's been a bit of a rift, but I'm quite happy and ready to go. So yeah, over to you, Barry.
Awesome. So yeah, as Marlon said, just remember, guys, I love questions, interaction. So please be interactive on this. Ask questions. Let me do whatever I can to help you and get you to learn what you need to learn, not what I want to teach. So yeah, I've just some of you may or may not know, I've just recently come back from Sydney. Had a great opportunity to spend nearly a week there with Robert and Kim Kiyosaki and some of the Rich Dad advisors. And we were part of a program that we taught on called Wealth Masters. And again, I've heard Robert say this so often, but he said it again in Sydney. He said this, he said, sales is the #1 skill that you need in business. And if you cannot sell, you cannot have a business. So, I hear a lot of people focused on a lot of other things, and they really at times suck at selling. So I'm excited that you're on this call, because I know that your ability to sell, your ability to communicate, your ability to connect with other people is really a core skill that needs to be developed continuously. Now, I would it was quite funny in Sydney. Maybe if you're not on the receiving end of it, or if you were, it wasn't that funny. Afterwards, it was quite funny. But in the last 18 to 24 months, as I've been working closer and closer with Robert and sort of had him coaching me on stage at times and that sort of stuff, I deem myself to be pretty good at sales. And when I got on stage, I started speaking, said something, and he gives me this comment. He goes, "One of these days, I need to teach you how to sell." So those of you guys that have ever spent any time in one of Robert Kiyosaki's rooms knows that he's pretty direct. But he deems selling to be such a great and necessary skill as an entrepreneur that he just says you can never not improve at selling. You can never be too good at selling. You can just get better and better. So how many of you can connect with what I've just said? So fire up some questions. I've got something that I want to go through with you tonight. But to kick off, I'd just love to handle some of your questions and communication that maybe are bothering you, or maybe you'd like some sort of insight shed on them. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds or so. Just type whatever's on your mind. Now remember this: there's no right or wrong question. It's just a question. And I know that just in the years that I've been teaching, watching people, so many people are stuck up on this thing. What happens if the question that I ask is not right? Just ask a question. If you need help on it, doesn't matter what it is. Please just ask the question, and let's see what we can do to help you. So type away. I'll give you a minute or so to do that. What questions do you have that I can help you on tonight? Let's see who's up first. Either you guys are typing slowly or you're not typing at all. So I'll give it a few more seconds, and then we'll go from there. Okay, good. So Delenn says, how would you suggest to set up targets for members in your team? Delenn, that's a great question. So tonight I'm going to talk on numbers. I'm going to shed some light and a bit more light around numbers. I know that I've spoken on numbers before. However, I get every room that I go into that I teach, the one area that I see that people are very weak on is measuring sales numbers, and sales numbers are very, very simple. So how do you set up targets for members in your team? Well, let's maybe let's do it like this. We'll do a little bit of a role play. So why don't you unmute yourself, and then I'll ask you a couple. I'll take you through a process as if you're on if you're one of my team members, and I want to set a target with you. So if you don't mind, just unmute yourself.
Thanks,
Great.
Barry.
Hi, Delenn. How you doing?
Hi, Barry. Fun and you.
Good. So Delenn, let's just set the context that you and I are having a discussion around targets for the next quarter. And I, in my mind, have got an idea of what I want to set, but I want you to buy into it. So the discussion that I'd have would be something like this. So Delenn, in the last quarter, you did pretty well. Well done. I see you were doing a lot of the right stuff. You just missed the target you set at 100,000 a month by 10%. So tell me, what do you think? What help do you need to help you get better at that?
Thanks, Barry. Well, what I would need to do is I need to just increase the number of calls that I make, because when I get in front of the customers, then I can sell quite well.
Okay, good. So when I look at your reports, I see that you were making on average about 6 to 7 calls a day. So 6 to 7 calls. How much more do you think you would need to increase your call rate by in order to increase the sales?
Oh, that's a good question. I just missed my target by 10%. So I think if I can increase it to 10 calls a day, then I should be home free.
Okay, good. So how many times during the quarter did you actually manage to do the 10 calls?
Not often. Twice, I think.
Okay, so I love the idea of 10 calls, but honestly, I think where you're sitting at the moment on an average of 6, what happens if we meet somewhere in the middle and you hit 8 calls?
Yeah, that's doable. I've done that a couple of times.
Do you think? Okay, good. Now this is the deal. I know that you really want to achieve this target because you said to me a couple of times. So, are you?
Yeah, for sure. I am, Barry. I'm prepared to do it.
Okay, good. And would you be prepared to put up a call chart in the office on your daily calls, and then at the end of the week, when you've done your 40 calls, average 8 per day, once you've done it, maybe we can celebrate it as a team. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
Okay, good. And I'm really prepared to help you along this journey. You know the way I operate. I don't want to come across as this demanding manager that's going to really, as a business owner that's going to demand. I trust that you're going to get out and do it. But is it okay if I kick your butt now and again if you're missing the 8? Is it okay if we agree between us that 8 is a minimum? How does that sound?
Yeah, I would absolutely appreciate it. I need a kick in the butt sometimes.
Okay, good. And the other day you told me you were talking about that new Portuguese restaurant that's opened up around the corner from you guys.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. You can take your family out there after the first month if you hit 8 calls a day or more every single day without missing a day. How does that sound?
Wow, I'm in. Definitely.
Okay, good. Excellent. So, Delenn, let's go back to your question. So your question was, how do you suggest setting up targets for members in your team? What did you learn out of the process that I've just done?
Sure. Thanks, Barry. That was great. Yeah, I learned that the first thing is asking questions. So you started by going through the results of the last quarter. So it's like taking the team member back to what happened. So that was your result. You just missed it by 10%, and then you just kept asking questions. So You didn't dictate the number of calls that I should make. You asked me for reasonable feedback, and you helped me to keep it realistic. You also said that you were prepared to help, and suggested ways to celebrate wins and to pull the person back into the team constantly, gave them a carrot in front of the nose with a Portuguese restaurant, and offered help to kick butt if necessary, with the chart being up in the office. So learned a lot through that asking questions process. Thank you.
Okay, good. So, I think one of the things, any of you that have run any teams, been involved in any driving sales teams, for example, or operating in the corporate world, having any employees, the one thing I've learned with employees is that employees want to impress, and they often want to tell you what they think you want them to, what you want to hear from them. So if you notice what I did with Delian immediately went for 10. And that's a typical response that I find with a lot of salespeople and a lot of team members and parts of the team is they'll push to go, hey, I know that he wants me to do 2, so I'll say 2 and it'll keep him happy. Well, I've just learned that if I can get them to agree to a lower target based on what they think they can do, it allows me to hold them a lot more accountable because of that, if that makes sense. So, Delian, yeah, it's whether it's number of calls, whether it's turnover, whether it's product, in setting targets, I found the easiest way is to sit down, have a discussion, asking questions, and get your sales team to commit to their own targets. Once someone has bought into a target, you can grow them from there. Obviously, you've got to, if you're wanting them to do 10 and they come in at 3, you've got to have that serious discussion around, look, are you serious about this? And if you only do 3, how do you expect to hit the results, if that makes sense?
Sure. Absolutely. Thanks, Barry.
Okay.
Very helpful.
Thanks, Julian. Well done. So any comments on that? Any questions just on that little role play? Anything that you learned out of that or came up? Just type it in for me, please. Cool. Thanks, William. So Colin says, if someone accepts a LinkedIn request, how do I start engaging them with a view of selling to them? Well, I think that could be, Colin, that could be a very diverse question. It depends on why you went after them in terms of LinkedIn. But my take on LinkedIn, my take on any of the social media, any of the social media aspects when you're connecting with people is, first up, don't be desperate. I watch people, and I made this comment the other day. One of my clients made a post on Facebook about a new program, a new concept that he's working around, and somebody made a post immediately punting their product. And I can tell you, I have no interest now in dealing with that person, because they just come across as I'm not interested in you. I'm not interested in who you are. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that I have this great product that's better than what you're talking about. Or that, in my experience, doesn't go down well. So 1, don't come across as desperate. 2, it's exactly the same as a conversation. Get in their world, make it all about them, find out about who they are, uncover their problems, and you'll start, if they're the right person, you'll start connecting to them. So like one of the things I see in the language that you wrote here, I see this word, when can I start selling to them? Well, I start selling from the time I connect, but I don't punt products or, so selling is not about, hey, Colin, thanks for linking into my LinkedIn request. I have this great product and I'd like to speak to you about it. That's not the art of selling. The art of selling is getting in their world, uncovering problems, finding out about them. That's sales. So during the course of the process, while you're engaging with them, building a relationship, the opportunity will come up when the time and the timing is right to offer them your product, to talk to them about your service. Does that make sense, Colin? If that makes sense and that answers your question, just type a yes in the chat box for me, please. Okay, great. So Marlon says, I love it that you came to the result together. Marlon, 100% correct. You know, selling internally is probably more important than selling externally. When you're building a team, you need to be able to sell. And the art of selling, as many of you will know from being on this call, is not telling. The art of selling is the art of asking questions, connecting with people, getting in their world. Just what I've said to Colin now, getting in their world, making it all about them. And it's the same as working with team members. Find out where they're at, find out what help they need, find out what problems they need to overcome, come together with a solution. So like the simple role play I did with Delian, the solution was we want to move up above the 100K, catch up on the 10%. How could she do it? She said 10. I said, well, used to do 6. Why don't we start off at 8, incentivize the 8. Do I want her to do 10? Yeah, I want her to do 12, 13, 40. I want to push her as big as she can go and help her, but I've got to help grow her. You know, there's no point in me sitting there going, you know, you have to do 12. You missed your target. If she doesn't believe she's going to get there, even if she does promise me, it's not going to work. So you got to, yeah, it's the art of selling, not telling. Connect with them. Does that make sense? So Violet says, how did you establish sales targets for each team member after adopting the belief that everyone is in sales? What's the first approach? Violet, I'm a little bit lost in this. How did you establish sales targets for each team member after adopting that everyone is in sales? Well, it all depends. You know, I don't have a sales target for my driver. I would have a different type of target for my driver. I don't have a sales target for the receptionist or for my PA. But when my PA is selling, I want to teach the PA that so I think, you know, when I say everyone sells and everyone's in sales, it doesn't mean that everyone has a target. Okay, sales reps, business owners, people out closing deals have sales targets. However, every person in the organization should be selling by how they communicate, how they connect with customers. A driver delivering product, you know, connects in places that most sales reps won't go into. So his sales is, or his role in sales is connecting, meeting people, delivering on time, you know, being well represented, and finding out information for the sales team. So I think, you know, when it comes to sales targets for the team members, unless that is their role, that their role is in sales, they wouldn't have a sales target. I mean, my PA doesn't have a sales target, but she knows that we have to be closing sales because that's the lifeblood of our business. So her role around sales is when you know, when people need a quick response from me, you know, it's up to her to make sure that that is being done. So that in its own is a sale because it's creating the relationship. So I don't know if that answers that question for you, Violet. Just if you just acknowledge yes or no. Just remember, you know, when you're building a team, it's that concept that whatever we do, we're selling. In fact, you know, I think this deal is about is not about whether you're selling or not. Some of you heard me say this a number of times. We're always selling. The question you need to ask is, what are other people buying? So anybody, your organization, anyone in your team, whatever they're doing, somebody else out there is buying something from them. So you just got to keep asking the question: when myself, my team, are the people that we're coming into contact with? Okay, so Kim says on Thursday, Margaret, my 16-year-old, helped me at our standard event. Margaret attends this webinar with us. She's heard lots about asking questions. When we debriefed on Friday, she said that they were more interested. Yeah, so thanks for the feedback, Kim. The more you connect with other people, the more they're interested in. You know, it's, guys, this honestly, this is not rocket science. And, you know, I often say the reason that I've been in sales and I suppose I can sell is because it's simple. You just got to have an interest in other people. You know, you ask them questions. Human behavior is pretty simple in terms of, well, humans are very complex. But in terms of this piece, humans, the way they behave, they want to talk about themselves. Why? Because you all went to school. So you went to school, which meant the way you looked the smartest in class was you had to tell. So how clever they are, how smart they are, that they know the right answers. Other people don't want to say anything because they're scared of not being able to tell the right questions or the right answers. You give people the chance to talk, they talk about themselves. You authentically, honestly become interested in other people, and they will tell you more than you could ever imagine. You know, so just the better you'll connect, with people. So thanks for that feedback, Kim. So any other questions? Any other questions? Anything else? Just on this little, I suppose, if you want, open piece, open questions. Anything else you would like to ask before I go into talking about what I was going to teach this evening? If you're getting value so far, maybe just give me a thumbs up or type yes or value in the chat box, just so that I know that you're learning out of this and you're getting something from it. Okay, great. So tonight I want to talk a little bit more around numbers. Recently in the events and the seminars that I've done, and those of you that have been on Sales Explosion or Sales and Leadership Mastery, I talk a lot about driving the numbers. Those of you that are going to come to the next Sales and Leadership Mastery or the Sales Explosion program in October, it's learning how to sell, learning how to connect with people is one part of it. Understanding how to drive the numbers is the second part. So, it's essential here then that we're driving a sales formula. So I'm going to take you pretty quickly through a really simple sales formula that I utilize. That I got this many years ago out of marketing, out of a marketing formula from a guy called Jay Abrams, who and really just what I did is I adapted it for sales, but it runs like this. So simple sales formula. Okay, so the first thing is you need to generate leads. Now, lead generation come in a number of forms. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write up the formula here, and once I've gone through the formula, we'll work through each piece at a time. So the times conversion percentage equals number of appointments. Number of appointments times conversion percentage equals number of customers. Now, in this approach between leads to conversion percentage, it might be leads time conversion percentage equals demos, demos time conversion percentage equals apps, apps times conversion percentage equals quotes. So, you know, the more complex your sales process is, the more pieces go into the sales formula. But what I do recommend is that you try keep it as simple as possible. So leads times conversion percentage equals number of appointments times conversion percentage equals number of customers. Number of customers times the average invoice or transactional value times the number of the average invoice value or the average transactional value times the number of transactions per month equals turnover. So that's essentially where you're focused on income generation. So what is it that you want to generate? What income are you generating? And then the most important part is obviously this. What is your gross profit percentage? And that'll equal your gross profit. So a simple sales formula. Simple sales formula. So let's discuss a little. Essentially is about the sales cycle. Leads is about finding customers. So this is part of this is your marketing engine. How are you generating leads? What are the ads that you're sending out? How are you connecting with customers? Do you have a social media campaign? And what is it? But there's some very simple ways as small to medium-sized business owners, excuse me, that you can start creating leverage. And they run like this. Get on the phone. Make some physical calls. Do some networking. And drive some referrals from customers that you're working with at the moment. Four key platforms that you can utilize to create success and create success pretty fast. Sadly, it's an area that many small to medium-sized business owners are not prepared to do. And we know the reason for that. Number of reasons: little voice, fear, laziness. You know, people tell me I don't have enough time. It's always quite interesting. Don't have enough time to get out and drive income. That's because we spend a lot of time doing sometimes the wrong things. So what are your lead generating tools? And the key component of this is this piece here. Are you clear on the objective? So when you do any of these, when you get on the phone, are you clear on the objective? When you get out and you're knocking on doors, are you clear on the objective? So how many leads? So when you go in here, how many leads are you going to generate? What is that number? What is this? What is the number of leads? Where are they going to come from? What's the number of leads? Okay, so conversion percentage. So at all these areas where you see conversion percentage is a measurement of skill. It's a measurement of how good your skill is and how much action are you prepared to take. So when we're talking conversion percentage, it's about action and level of skill. How good is your skill? So action, well, your conversion percentage is going to suck. If your skill is not improving, you're taking a lot of action, well, you're going to have to do certain things. You've got to practice. You've got to role play. So what do you practice? You practice things like scripts. If you're going to get on the phone, you write a script, you practice it and practice it and practice it. If you're going to go out and knock on doors, physical, you do an elevator pitch, you knock on a door. so that when you walk in, you have the confidence of walking up to the receptionist. Hi, ma'am, my name is Barry Mitchell, and you are? Mary. Hey, Mary, nice to meet you today. Mary, just quickly by way of introduction, I have a company called Uncovering Greatness. For over 25 years, I've worked around the world with hundreds and now in this business. Do you think it's something that would be of interest to you and the people that work here to make a lot more money? Now, I'm connecting in her world. She's the receptionist. How many people are walking in, they're not practiced, they fumble and stutter, or they just walk up and they say, hi, I'd like to see the decision maker in sales. Hi, I'd like to see the decision maker in transport. Well, I'm going to share something with you. The decision maker is sitting right in front of you. She happens to be the receptionist, and at this stage in the transaction, in this stage in the sales deal, she's the one that's going to decide whether you're going to go forward or not. So when you get better at conversion percentage, you increase. So if you increase the number of leads, get better in your skills, your number of appointments go up. What's the skill you need to improve on in appointments? Pitching and presenting. The art of asking questions, the art of getting in their world, the art of finding out more about who they are, what do they need, what type of problems you can solve. Again, that conversion percentage to taking someone from an appointment to a customer is around skill. The art of getting appointments is through your objective of what are the activities that you prepare to drive. Then you go from number of customers to the average transactional value. Now, this is an interesting question that often I'll ask people. They'll say, I'll say, what is your average value? Well, I sell so many different products. Like, look, keep it simple. Take your how many invoices did you do in a month? I did 50 invoices. Great. 50 invoices. What was your total turnover? My total turnover was 200,000 Rand. Excellent. So out of that 200,000 Rand and those 50 invoices, were there any anomalies? For example, out of 200,000 Rand, did one invoice equal 50,000 Rand? Yes, it did. Great. Take it out. Any other invoices like that? No. Okay, good. Now take 150,000 Rand, divide it by 49 invoices. Your average transactional value is just below 3,000 Rand. Now what you can do is you say, the average value of an invoice is 3,000 Rand. How many invoices do I do a month to a typical customer? Well, if you service a customer, sell to them more than once a month, that could be 2 or 3 times. If you have a business like mine, where I do public events, I might have one customer buy from me 3 times a year, maybe 4 times a year in my seminar. So, when I'm doing this, I'll be driving it as an annual transactions what they have per year. So which would make it a quarter of a transaction by the globular figure. Is this making sense? Just quickly give me some feedback in the chat bar. Is this making sense? Are you guys learning something from this? Are you getting value? Are you getting value out of this? Any questions so far around what I've been going through? I'll say it again. I've said it a number of times. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. You don't need flipping calculus and all the other stuff. I don't know if you're pretty simple. This is plus, times, and equals. My type of maths, the maths that makes money. So how many of you like the sound of that? Okay, so it's a combination of skill and action, and learning. So you put those things together, you start creating results, but you have to measure. Okay, then we go to income times gross profit percentage, and that equals your gross profit. So any questions so far this formula. Anything you don't understand, anything you don't have a grasp on, anything you want to make a comment on, or put up your hand, and Marlon will. So Violet says, if you have a number of those anomalies, do you keep deducting them before averaging your sales? Well, so it depends, Violet. So if you look, if you have 10 invoices a month and 5 of them are 20,000 Rand and 5 of them are 1,000 Rand, well, create an average, because you'll have 10, at 105,000 Rand, your average will be 10,000 Rand. If you get more than 20s, well, then you're not your target is going to be more conservative, which is good, because if you hit the big ones, then you're going to hit way over target. So this is a game of understanding over a period of time. You've got to measure. The more you measure, the more you understand. The more you drive the formula week in and week out, month in and month out, the more you get a handle on what it is that drives your sales. What do you need to do? So, the key component of this is you go down to this piece over here. You want to increase your income. If you go down to that and you increase your income, well, you can then drive each number and increase your turnover. Does that make sense? Okay. So that gives you an overview of the sales formula. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through a quick process of showing you how you can practically drive those numbers in day-to-day sales. So let me go. Okay, so I'm just going to take you through. So let's look at this sales formula and let's throw some numbers into it. Okay, so if we go, let's go leads. So if we say that our leads are 100, okay, and our conversion percentage is 20%. That means the number of appointments that we get is 20. If our conversion percentage from appointments to customers is 30%, that means that the number of customers, is that making sense? Now, if our average invoice value is 3,000 Rand, and our average number of transactions or average number of invoices per customer is 1, that means our total turnover will be 18,000 Rand, or income. If our gross profit percentage is 20%, is 3,600 Rand. So, in terms of this, when we look at that, let me just go here. So William says, are there free sales software available to support a business owner to capture customer info as what are now being discussed? Yeah, William, there are many programs out there to capture customer software, depending on the size of your business. What I recommend to most small to medium-sized operators is learn how to drive the numbers manually first. You know, once you learn how to drive these numbers, then get a program that will support you driving them. Because if you get a program and you don't understand how to drive numbers, then that program will be futile. So Violet says, how many clients do you need to make the average sales? Well, it depends on how many clients you have, Violet. You know, I run a seminar business. I have maybe hundreds of clients. You might have 3 clients. You might have 3 clients that you run contracts to every month, and those 3 clients might do 100,000, 120,000, and 50,000. That would be 3. That would be your 3 clients. If you were going to go for a 4th, then your average would be the average of those 3 that you'll be able to aim at. Does that make sense? Okay, so when we're looking at this formula, if you want to increase your profit, by 60%, what would you need to do? What is the most logical thing to do? Type it in the box. What's the most logical thing to do? If you want to increase your sales by 60%, okay, so you could sell more high profit items. Yeah, so well, Kim, your average profit item is so you could increase the conversion rate, or you could do what? What do most people say? Very good, Susan. Most people say increase your leads. So it stands to reason that if you increase your leads by 60%, that would mean you take your leads to 160, and that would, right at the bottom, increase what? It would increase your sales by 60%, wouldn't it? Does that make sense? Now the question I'm going to ask you, how many of you, if you are pushing your lead engine, does increasing your leads seem a daunting task? I don't know about you, but you know, people say, well, I just double my leads. If I double my leads, I'll double my sales. I say, great, as long as you can double your leads. But there's much simpler ways to do it. So the average person immediately thinks, if I take these leads and I increase them, I will ultimately increase everything by 60%. Now that logic is true, but it becomes very difficult in order to find the capacity. So the good news is, it is a lot easier, a lot simpler than just driving your leads. And it works something like this. What we're going to do is we're going to focus on increasing each one of these pieces by a little bit, by 10%. So I'm going to ask you this. If you're driving 100 leads a month, can you get 10% better in your lead generation? How many of you think that sounds a lot more achievable than increasing leads by 60%? So can you get 10% better? What that means is take your leads from 100 to 110. Conversion percentage. Can you increase your conversion percentage by 10%? In other words, can you get 10% better? Now, not from 20% to 30%. An incremental increase in performance from 20% to 22%. How many of you think that is definitely achievable? How many of you, when you look, you go, man, if my conversion percentage is 20%, I remember that is your ability to connect with people. That is the ability to take action. That is the ability it's your script, your elevator pitch, it's your ability to role play and practice. Would you agree that those things are all in your hands? Your ability to practice is in whose hands? Excuse me. It's in your hands. So a little incremental increase from 20 to 22%. How many of you think that sounds a lot more achievable? Now, number of appointments. That'll take your number of appointments from 20 to 24.2, just 2.2 a month. Now, let's go to conversion percentage. Again, like we said just now, can you get better at pitching? Can you get better at presenting? Can you get better at practicing questions? Can you get better at uncovering problems, getting in their world? Again, these are the things that are in your control, not in their control. You can practice them. So can you improve by 10%? In other words, can you take this to a 33% conversion rate? What that means, that'll take your number of customers to 7.98 fractional value. Can you increase that by an incremental 10%? So in other words, from 3,000 to 3,300 Rand. How do you do that? Stop leaving sales on the table. Stop discounting. Stop leaving money on the table. Upsell a little bit. Find something that can, out of every 10 customers, sell one customer double. Those type of things. So can you increase it by your average transactional value or your average invoice value from 3,000 to 3,300, a little 10% increment? Can you get your customers to buy more than once a month? So again, a little incremental increase. Instead of once, can they buy 1.1 times? In other words, instead of having 10 customers that buy once, you have one customer that buys twice. You sell double the amount to that customer. So you start thinking, where can I incrementally increase with my customer base? So you take it to 3,300, you take it to 1.1, you multiply that by 7.98, and that'll take your sales from 18,000 to 28,989 Rand. Can you increase your profit? Can you get your products a little bit higher? So again, can you increase them by 10%? Not 10%, not from 20 to 30%, but from 20 to 22%. What that'll do is it'll take your total sales to a gross profit of 6,377 Rand. And folks, what that works out at is an increase of greater than 70% profit by taking small little pieces along the sales formula and incrementally improving those. How many of you have just learned something this evening? Anybody just had an aha? So Erishan, you're right. Create more leads by expanding network and media presence. Upskill yourself, practice. Again, expanding leads is a task, but you need other people involved in that. Does that make sense? Increasing your conversion percentage is up to you. Can you, for example, if you haven't been to the Sales Explosion seminar, come to the Sales Explosion seminar. You'll learn how to ask questions. You'll learn how to get in their world. You'll dramatically change the world. Come back again so you get a different perspective. Does that make sense? So can you practice objection handling in your office every morning? Can you role play your pitch before you go out? Before you go pitch to clients, can you role play? You see, those things are in your hands. Sadly, most people are not doing that. Most people are out trying to wing it and do a whole lot of other stuff that doesn't add value to the system. So take each piece of this formula, put it into play, and you'll create a dramatic change in your business. How many of you could do with increasing your sale, your profit by 70%? Little incremental changes. So Violet says, how do you successfully increase prices without the clients crying and still get them to increase their spend? Well, Violet, that's the art of sales. The art of sales, it's the art of negotiation. It's delivering on what clients need, not what you want to sell to them. You can increase. I mean, I've been in the training game for nearly 12 years. My first client, I charged 3,500 Rand a month. I went and visited him for 3 to 4 hours, 1 week, 4 times a month, and my charge was 3,500. After 6 months, it was 7,500. That's the most I ever charged him. And I worked with him for about, today, 12 years down the line, my hourly rate is what I started charging him per month. Now, I have a lot more experience. I've gained a huge amount more learning, and the value that I add is way bigger than what it was then. I might have undersold myself dramatically, but I got in the game. So over a period of time, as you add value, as you become clear on who's looking for you, the game changes. You know, too many people want to go in right up here. Hey, I'm going to charge 3,500 bucks an hour because, you know, I know how to train and do a couple of flip chops. Well, if you're not adding the value, you're not going to be able to get that. So over a period of time, you got to add value. So as your business is growing, you add value. You find new services that are linked to the service that you give. So you don't go and chase business that's not in your realm. You know, so, you know, if you're in transport, don't go and do a tender for, or go and get an order for pool chemicals if that's not your specialty. But if you're in transport and you're transporting, I don't know, staff from the canteen to their home, but there's also staff that need to be transported from the admin office, then try to get the admin office staff as well, because it's in your line of business. Does that make sense? So, any questions or comments? Yeah, Nilan, you know, you make a point there. Easier to sell to a happier customer than get a new one. You know, retention, the most expensive part of business is this. And this is where too many people spend too much time. And an acquisition, lead generation, spend lots of time, lots of money, lots of effort, and the bills rack up here. What happens is they feed it in here, they get the customer. Well, they get the customers, make some money, but there's nothing to catch it out the bottom. So, so in the top of the pipeline, they focus on acquisition. What happens is these guys move out the side, and you start losing them, and you go back, find customers, find customers, find customers, find customers. And that way, you know, Peter Drucker says, acquisition is about find. Acquisition is about finding customers. If you're not focused on how to hold them, can you guys hear me, Marlon?
Can hear you now? Just that feedback is coming now.
Okay, let me just go back onto my whiteboard. Okay, so I'll go back into this. So that what I was showing you was many people are focused on that acquisition piece. So focused on finding customers, and you have to focus a lot of time, effort, money, and attention on finding customers. That's where people are focused their attentions. So when you get the customer, you've got to look after that customer. That's called retention. And you've got to do is set up the platform that catches those customers and keep. That's what Peter Drucker says. The core of any business is to find and keep customers. So are you focusing to find and keep customers? And if you are, that's the core of selling. Does that make sense, folks? There we go. So you got to focus on the keep part. And when you focus on this keep part, that's what generates money, and that's called adding value. That's the aha that are you adding to the client, not what value is the client adding to you. So we're on seem to be on. Okay, we should be back again. So,
yeah,
folks, any comments or questions? Did you get value out of tonight? Did you get a learning out of tonight? Any questions before we finish off? Just for those of you that haven't been on the Sales Explosion or the Sales and Leadership Mastery program, you know, I encourage you to join us. The next program is in October 18th, 19th, and 20th of October. You know, it's now September. You got 2 months before that, so I would you know that I have a repeat rate. You know, people like Clive, it would be great to see you back in that room. Love having your perspective in any of my rooms. It'd be great to see you back in that room and come and join us for the last one that we do this year. So lost connection. I lost the question. So please just type that in for me again, and I'll be able to and I'll answer that before we finish off. So if you just type that in again quickly. So there we go. Marlon's just put it up for those of you that want to find out more about it. 18th, not 8th, 18th to the 20th of October. It's in Joburg. Just for those of you that have asked me before, we do a program that generally is only taught by Blair Singer in the US, and it's called UPDP, the Ultimate Personal Development Program. It's a 5-day entrepreneurial program. Those of you that might be interested, I know some of you have asked me before about it. I'm going to be conducting that at the end of November, beginning of December. So it's a very small group of people. It's limited to 30 people. Very intensive program. But it'll be at the beginning. Ultimate Personal Development Program. It's a 5-day program, highly intensive, but yeah, signature program that Blair does, and I'll be teaching it in South Africa for the first time ever. So those of you that are interested in it, just drop Marlon a line or drop me a line. We can chat to you about that. So Irisham said, his question is, can you get your clients to sell your services onto others by giving an incentive to them. Erishan, I'm going to ask you one question. What do you think? Well, let me rephrase the question. Erishan, so you're on the Awaken Your Financial Genius program, yeah? So let me ask you this. In the experience that you've had in the first 4 weeks that we've run the program, do you know other people that will get benefit out of what you're learning? So, Erishan, do you think you know people that would get benefit out of the things you're learning? Let's if you can, unmute yourself, and we'll just do another little bit of a role play. Can we do that? If you can, have you got a mic? You there, Erishan? Perfect. So mate, have you got value out of the Awaken Your Financial Genius 10-week program so far? Okay, good. You said yes. You know people would benefit. Great. So we're doing an event in November. It's a introductory program. It's $150 per person. If you refer people into that program, would you be interested in making 1,000 Rand per person who signs up for the Awaken Your Financial Genius program? Yes or no?
Hi, Barry. Can you hear me now?
100%, buddy. I can hear you. So would you be interested in making 1,000 Rand per person for the people that you bring to the Awaken Your Financial Genius intro program?
Most definitely.
Excellent. Do we have a deal?
Yes, we do.
Does that answer your question?
It answers it 1,000%. Thanks.
Now, what I've learned on that, and I'll give you a heads up on that. Most people will say yes, I'll be interested in doing it. That sounds so exciting. A very small percentage of people will actually go out and make it happen. One, because many people actually, when they go out to start selling, they're not confident enough to be able to sell it. Especially when you say, hey, go and sell my product and I'll pay you. It sounds good, the money sounds good, but they won't do it. So what you've got to do is you've got to set it up so that you allow them to close them. You bring them to the free event. I'll close. So you make the sales process easy for them. And when you make the sales process easy for them, that allows it to work for you. So great question. So Violet, if you want to know more about the UP Ultimate Personal Development Program, we'll chat about it. It is a 5-day program that runs for 5 days solid, from early in the morning to late at night. It encompasses everything from health, wealth, mindset, and business. It is designed to teach entrepreneurs to build businesses in 5 days, work on teams, sort out conflict and confrontation, and operate from there. So it is a very unique program. It is not for everybody, and we'll chat about how you can make it work for you if you're interested in doing that. So, guys, I just want to thank you for being on this call with me tonight. I truly hope you got value out of it, and yeah, looking forward to see you in one of our rooms soon, or if not, back on here next Tuesday, where we're going to be talking financial literacy, making money, wealth, that type of stuff. So thank you, Marlon. Thanks to you for hosting it again. Back to you, buddy. You take it over now. Thanks.
Thanks, Barry. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This will be available again on the Uncovering Greatness website. Apologies for the interruption in connection. We're going to work on that and make sure it's a little bit better next time around. If you find value, kindly, forward the link on to whomever would would benefit. I know a lot of you frequent this, and I mean this is something that we do on a weekly basis, and it just would be great to connect with others and help other businesses and other business owners uncover their greatness. So thank you very much. Have a good evening and see you all next week.